So for this storage space, if we remember, is going to have a special kind of occupancy as well. And we're going to need some separation because things that are in storage can obviously be flammable, could catch fire. Now, obviously, we probably won't have very much that's going to be flammable, like in a true hazard situation, where we have to have a hazard classification. We're not going to have anything like that, not lubricants or paints or varnishes or anything like that. So we're going to go ahead and let's lay out some of our corridor space. Okay, so I'm going to hit when I'm in here right now. One thing I have to make sure I do first is what I'm going to click here on this and flip that again, and I want to look at something. Okay, so if I'm on the first floor, I've got all these walls that are going up about 10 feet, right? And we're hoping most of them are in between the joist in a lot of cases. But in some cases, we know they're going to have to be going right up to deck, and we've already kind of handled that. Remember that? That's been weeks and weeks ago we did that. We made sure that our corridor walls are going all the way up. So what we also probably realize now is, oh man, we're going to have some problems across here because look at this. Here's a corridor, right, where the labs are on each of the floors. And in this corridor, we have this space that's above here. So how are we going to handle that? How are we going to handle those walls, first of all? Well, what's going to be interesting is I'm going to click here, right? And what I'm going to try and determine is if I got that, if I'm going all the way up, how much of this type of wall am I going to need on this side of the corridor to go all the way up here? And I don't want to draw one wall inside of another wall right now. And I can't use the curtain or the storefront system to go all the way up. I have to protect that because I need a fire barrier in here. And you're going to see that on each side. So there's a way that we typically do this, and I'm going to try and kind of cheat my way through it a little bit. And so if I cheat my way through it, if I copied this wall, let's say I copied this wall right over to here, right? And then I said, okay, if I click here and I say there's a base offset and a top offset. What if my base offset, what if I change that to 9 foot? What would happen to that wall? Oh, look at that. It moved all the way up here, right? And now I can kind of cheat this. Let me see if I move this from here all the way over to here, right? I'm in good shape now. And then look what I can do with my shape handle. I can drag that all the way to the top of there. And now it's saying my base offset is 9 foot 8.5. Look at that. So now I've got that wall on top there, right? So I'm covered. So now all I have to do is say copy from here all the way over to there. And now I've got my what? I've got my barrier up there, right? That's protecting fire from getting out. Now, when I go back to the first floor, what am I seeing? Well, I don't have to worry about it because what? It's above my view range, right? That's great because look at my view range. Remember view range? You don't necessarily get in there a whole lot, but my view range is at 7'6", right? So I'm only seeing up to 7'6". And if I go to this section, I know I just created these, right? The bottom of that wall, the base of it is at 9 foot 8.5. So I'm never even going to see that, but it's there. So what can I do now? I can click here and click here, and I can say copy to clipboard. And then I can come here and say paste align to selected levels. And I'm going to say I want it on the second and the third floor. And look at that, all the way up my building. That's the beauty of Revit, people. I've got my fire barrier all the way up where I need it now. Okay, so I am covered. I'm in good shape. I can go back to my first floor. And now on my first floor, I can start thinking about some of the other spaces that we talked about there. So now I know if I do a create similar here, I'm going to go right up to that second floor and I'm going to be covered. So let's lay in some storage space. Another space that we probably haven't thought a lot about, and I'm going to go to the ground floor to talk about this for a second. We're going to have to figure out a way somewhere to create some space for housekeeping or environmental or janitorial, whatever you want to refer to it as. And we're going to create that in a way that is discreet. And we're going to get that in there too. But what we need is something like that on every single floor, because what we don't want is somebody in housekeeping to have to, get water or get a vacuum or get a bucket to mop. We don't want them to have to travel up and down the elevator to get that hot water and get clean water and go back and forth. That doesn't make any sense. So we're going to have some sort of environmental on every floor. And what you're going to find, the plan is to cut that space somewhere out of these areas over here. How are we going to put that in there? Well, you're going to see how we're going to do that. It'll be pretty clever. And we're going to create space for an environmental type of janitorial closet. Okay, so we're going to need that too. We got to think about these spaces. But now we're back on the first floor. Let's get that storage space in here. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to hit create similar. And I'm going to create similar that wall somewhere over here. I'm going to start here, and I'm going to say I know I need 5 feet for that, right? So I'm going to go get an align dimension and say from that face to that face, 6'9" 3/4. I can click that, and now I can say 5'0", right? And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to click here and say create similar right at the end of this wall to here, and then I'll trim this off. And I'll say, hey, I need another align dimension here. And I'm going to want this to be 5 foot, right? So now I've got 5 foot in there, and that's approximately where my dimension is going to be here. Now, if I want to go 10 feet, let's draw a detail line and see how far 10 feet is here, just for grins. So there's 10 feet right there. Right? So if that's 10 feet, that's to the center of that wall. And I want my face to face to be 10 feet. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to give this person in this corner is going to have a little extra space. And that just happens sometimes because we want to keep this even. So what's going to happen is I'm going to pull this wall all the way over to here, right? And then I'm going to put a dimension in here, an align dimension. And I'm going to say, I want this to be 10 feet. Now that that's 10 feet, I am not going to offset my, I'm not going to, this 5'2" 3/8" is plenty fine, people. As long as I'm 5 foot, I'm fine. If I can keep them all 5 feet, that's great. But it would be more of a hassle to jog this wall up, to come here and then jog this wall up. It would look funny. So we're going to keep it nice and clean, and that 5'2" 3/8" is fine. Or if we really wanted to, we could come in here and change this dimension to 5 foot, but we don't need to worry about it. It's not a big deal. So now we've got space in here for a couple of different things, people. What I'll do is when we come back in the next video, we'll talk a little bit more, and I'll let you get a chance to get caught up and get this drawn in there, and maybe even get in the section if you want your fire barriers up above your storefront in each one of these. Okay. All right. So we'll go back here and we'll pick up in the next video.